It's time for the 1430 Connection on 1430 WNAV and 99.9 FM, spotlighting news, newsmakers, and important community issues. Now, with this week's edition of the 1430 Connection, here is WNAV news anchor Donna Cole.
Welcome to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. I'm in the studio today with Officer Jake Coxon of the Maryland Natural Resources Police, Candy Thomson, Public Information Officer for the Maryland Natural Resources Police, and also another very special guest, a four-legged Chesapeake Bay Retriever named Ruckus. And I'm going to start this interview by first saying thank you for joining me, to the both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to read a Facebook post from the Humane Society of Harford County. And this was posted back in February, and it's a little long. And if Ruckus doesn't knock over the fan in our studio, you'll be able to hear it. On January 7th, a goofy Chesapeake Bay Retriever named Angus was surrendered to the Humane Society of Harford County. Towards the end of January, Angus went to stay with a foster who was thinking of adopting. The foster returned him to the shelter a couple of days later with concerning reports of not doing well with other dogs, having separation anxiety, biting the foster when they put him in a crate, and an overall lack of training. Our dog enrichment team, DET, met to discuss Angus and make a plan for his behavioral work. During this meeting, one of our newest DET officers, Tiffany, reached out to a contact at the Maryland Natural Resources Police. They came to evaluate him the very next day and agreed to give this boy a chance because often dogs like Angus thrive as working dogs. We are so proud to say that Angus, now Ruckus, passed all of his assessments and training with flying colors, and he was accepted into the Maryland Natural Resources Police K-9 school. After school, Angus will go on to help with tracking, evidence recovery, and wildlife detection. We cannot thank the Maryland Natural Resources Police and their wonderful handlers enough for pulling Ruckus and putting him in an environment where he seems to be thriving. Good luck, Ruckus. On Friday, June 17th, Ruckus graduated from police training along with Ryder, a terrier mix who will be based in the Baltimore area. Ruckus will be based where?
In Anne Arundel in PG County.
Right. Tell me how Ruckus is doing.
He's doing great. I couldn't be happier with him. We had a little bit of a hiccup initially in training. He earned his name pretty well. That's why we changed it to Ruckus. Another handler did that. He causes quite a commotion because he has no fear. His large size. I've seen him run into stuff, and he just keeps on trucking. So he actually ate an article during training on the first day.
And not like a news article.
As in a piece of clothing.
Okay.
That we were using to try to get him to
and
find
did that
on.
come out naturally, or did you need a veterinarian to intercede?
We interceded with peroxide immediately.
And a piece of blood, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
To get him to
spit it out.
I was trying to think of a good term. Just because we didn't want it to become a blockage, to hurt him later on. And of course, whenever that happens, that's a traumatic thing for him. It hurts his throat, his esophagus, everything. So his first week, he was a little under the weather, but once he got over that, he caught right up to everybody else. We were a little bit behind initially, but it didn't take long to catch up. For
anyone that has had Labrador Retrievers or Chesapeake Bay Retrievers, the first 2 years is complete hell.
I found out that.
So he's only eaten one article of anything? He's not eaten anything else, which is kind of amazing to me.
Actually, we have a female that was in our class, a K-9 handler from Delaware, and it was her glove that he ate. And another time I was tracking her much later on, we had no more issues, and then he mouthed another piece when he found it. I don't know that he would have swallowed it this time, but I kind of intervened real quickly and made sure it, reached up. So.
Okay, so how long have you been a handler and officer with the Natural Resources Police?
I've been an officer for 4.5 years, and I became a handler. When did it get announced?
March?
Maybe.
A little earlier?
So you're both starting
March.
Together. That's kind of cool.
Yes. I learned to train him as he got trained, basically. That's how the K-9 school kind of works.
Actually, he's been training you as well, is what it sounds like. And did you grow up with dogs?
I did.
Okay.
I'm a huge dog person.
Okay, so have you ever had a Chessie?
No.
Do you now understand how hard-headed they are, or getting to understand this?
Oh, yes. That's what, most people come up to me, kind of surprised that we're able to get him to do the stuff we need, but he loves to work. I can't get him to stop sometimes, working. So far it's been, training to hone his skills in, but usually, he works for a reward, and that's what the dogs do. You keep them motivated because they know when they they do their job, they're going to get their toy.
Right.
But he'll get his toy, and sometimes he wants to get right back to work.
And as you can hear, Ruckus is talking too. Is Ruckus toy motivated or food motivated?
He's toy. There was a couple times we would have to food motivate him just to get him back in the swing of things. But
we're laughing because Ruckus is, living up to his name.
No, he's got. I have these squeaker balls. I was going to bring one in.
Oh, you're more than welcome to next time you have Ruckus. And so Ruckus and Ryder were adopted at the same time, Candy, or?
Well, we got 3 dogs about the same
okay.
time. 2 of them came from Harford County,
Yes,
and
Harford.
1 came from Kent County Shelter. So all 3 of our new K-9 units are pound puppies.
That's completely awesome. Is this? Have you been doing this forever?
Well, we go back to the
Beacon.
90s. Was Beacon a pound puppy?
Rescue.
Yep.
She wasn't from per se a humane society, but it was essentially a rescue. Somebody wanted to give her up, and then I believe is Badger.
Badger's a shelter doggy.
Okay, so all 5 of our canines right now are rescues essentially.
We started in the 90s with shelter dogs. They're just, we love them. They got a lot of gratitude for being, with our folks and getting to do stuff, the cool stuff, and that it just works out for us that way.
Who's paying for this? Is the state paying for it, or are you getting grants, or can private donations also come into play here?
Well, this time it was our first time we had an in-house K-9 academy, whereas a handler that we already had on as a K-9 handler, Corporal Devin Corcoran, got a grant from the Humane Society of the United States,
Wow, nice.
the national level, to send him to K-9 trainer school. So using that grant money, he got his certification to be an instructor to certify our dogs. So we did it in-house this time. He instructed the 3 new handlers from Maryland Natural Resources Police, which were, Ruckus, Ryder, and Harbor.
Harbor. Okay, this is 3rd. And what is Harbor?
He's a chocolate lab.
Okay.
And he's out west.
He's also a puppy?
He's a very large puppy.
He's a little bit smaller than Ruckus, but he's probably around the same age. He's probably 2 years, I want to say. He might be a little bit older.
Okay, so that handler is going through a little bit of hell too.
A little bit, he does have. But yeah, and then, of course, there's 2 from Delaware.
Okay, I saw that.
Yeah,
right.
I want to include them too. We have a great relationship with those 2. Especially, on the shore. I mean, the line right there, they can go back and forth. Yeah, and then the state pays the rest of it.
Okay, Maryland State Police K-9 unit has private donations. Their vehicles are paid for by private donations. Their dogs are. Is this something that you might be looking at in the future, or Candy?
We're different than state police
Okay.
in that we are under the Department of Natural Resources. State police, they are their own agency with their own cabinet level secretary. We have to adhere to slightly different rules. So we can't have donations pay for some of the things that state police has donations paid for. Now, our K-9 unit originally in the 90s started with local donations from business people. An officer who became the heart and soul of our K-9 program, who retired last year, Sergeant Lisa Nyland, went around and got donations to get it up and running.
Very cool.
And
Nice.
she had, 4 dogs in her time with us. She started with Chessie, and Chessie actually worked 9/11 down at the Pentagon because Chessie was a cadaver dog. And we try to keep 1 cadaver dog in our group. And then she had Liberty and Patriot and Justice. So she had a
names,
theme with her,
right.
with her dogs. And she left us last year, and Devin Corcoran has become sort of the lead of K-9 now, and he's based on the Eastern Shore.
Okay. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, more about Ruckus and the other pups who were all from various shelters for the Maryland Natural Resources Police. I'm Donna Cole. We'll be right back on the 1430 Connection. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me today, Officer Jake Coxon from the Maryland Natural Resources Police, Candy Thomson, Public Information Officer for the Maryland Natural Resources Police, and Ruckus, who's a Chesapeake Bay Retriever, newly graduated, and is a officer for the Maryland Natural Resources Police. Congratulations, Ruckus. He's more intent on people going by the studio right now. You might be hearing a bark. He's doing a lot of panning, and he's adorable. So, again, thank you for joining me today.
Sure.
So let's talk about Ruckus. When he first arrived with Maryland Natural Resources Police, you were calling him a Chessie mix, if I'm not mistaken, yes? Mm-hmm. Okay. In recent history, you've learned, and he hasn't gotten a big head about this yet, but you've learned that Ruckus might not be a mutt.
Correct. As I was saying earlier, we did our training with Delaware. Mm-hmm. Their K-9 unit founder kind of guy, he's a lieutenant now, was there as well. He saw Ruckus, and his brother has purebred Chessies, and he kept claiming to me that his brother's $2,000 Chessies look, show quality, look identical to Ruckus. And I don't know a whole lot about Chessies. I was just trying to learn, and I was like, I don't know. But recently, when we graduated, Candy made on our Facebook page, made a post, about the graduation, and put on there that Ruckus was a Chessie lab mix.
Right.
And somebody actually reached out to her through social media and claimed that he was familiar with the breeder he came from and a little bit of his history, and said that he was purebred.
That's kind of cool, especially for the discount price that a Chessie
I was excited.
Candy. So you've now found out that he probably is full Chessie, right?
Well, we're waiting. Jake's got a DNA test kit. We're gonna, because we are police, of course, and
Right. You've got to do the investigation.
We got to do the investigation. We need to look at the evidence, and we'll see what the evidence, where that takes us.
Okay, so this is just like on TV where you do the swab in his mouth and...
Exactly. I got it from the AKC website. My wife actually bought it for me, and I took a swab out, and it had a prepaid envelope. I stuck it inside of his cheek, and it's looking for cheek cells, not necessarily saliva, but the cells, and I sent it back, and with just his information, they'll mail me something back in 4 to 6 weeks. So we got a couple weeks to go still, but...
Okay, you're going to tell him or not tell him once the results are in?
We'll see what the results are before we decide.
Okay, and perhaps he might be able to know his real mom and dad in the future.
Exactly.
All right, so what is Ruckus? What is he going to be used for exactly?
Our dogs are multiple discipline dogs. The first one is human tracking, so they're scent specific, meaning that once they get on a scent on the ground, he's going to stick with that scent. It can be contaminated to some degree, not a huge amount of contamination because that's too much for him.
Right.
But
live human?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We have one human remains dog in the state.
Okay.
So that's not him.
With Natural Resources Police? Okay, I did not know that.
And so human tracking, which can be used for anything from, looking for suspects to looking for lost children.
Okay.
Search and rescue type situations in the woods, in the mountains out in Western Maryland, state parks, stuff like that. He just, we take him out. Hopefully somebody saw the person or has an article from that person, and we present it to him, and he puts his nose down and he goes. And he looks pretty good when he does it. He's got a nice pace. He doesn't pull terribly hard. For his size, because it would hurt my shoulder. and he does well. His second discipline is called article search or evidence search. The best way to describe that is if you have a grass field and you're looking for a piece of evidence in that. Now he's going to look for the human scent that's on a piece, an article, and when I say article, any type of of anything,
right.
Property, whether it's a handgun, a credit card, a set of keys somebody dropped. And he looks for the human scent on that. He also looks a little bit for the gunpowder smell too. He can look for both. So basically, in that situation, if the grass can be 3 feet tall, and that could be something tiny at the bottom, for an officer, a human, we probably might not ever find it.
Right.
With him, he can use his nose and take us right to that, which is beneficial for a lot of reasons in a lot of different scenarios.
Well, let's talk about that, and people might not realize what is the mission of the Maryland Natural Resources Police, Candy.
Our mission is simple. It is to protect and conserve the resources of the state of Maryland, and also to protect the people who go out and use them, be it a boater, an angler, a hunter, a hiker, a picnicker. We're out there, and we respond to all kinds of things. Before I came to work for Natural Resources Police, I was with the Baltimore Sun, and I always thought of Natural Resources Police as the Swiss Army knife of law enforcement, because they do like a lot of things. They do everything from, protect our state parks. They're out patrolling, especially on busy weekends. We have an education unit that teaches boaters how to safe boat, hunters how to be safe hunters. We have our marine units that go out and check for fish and crabs and oysters. And we rescue boaters and all kinds of people in distress. Jake and Ruckus are part of that mission.
Jake, how did you end up with the Natural Resources Police?
I started the academy when I was 21. I originally was the...
Ruckus is currently trying to jump up on Jake's lap.
I think he's antsy. I was originally a state police cadet, actually, when I was 19, 20. I decided not to go that route. I'd always been interested in natural resources police, and due to our small numbers statewide, obviously. I was always told, don't even waste your time. It's hard to get into. I applied when they opened, and I got the job.
Good for you. And thank you for doing what you do, both of you.
I appreciate that.
We're going to take another short break. I'm Donna Cole. This is the 1430 Connection. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. I'm in the studio with Officer Jake Coxon of the Maryland Natural Resources Police, Candy Thomson, Public Information Officer for the Maryland Natural Resources Police, and Ruckus, a Chesapeake Bay Retriever with lots of energy. He's panting. He's looking around the studio, and he's one of the newest K-9 officers for the Maryland Natural Resources Police. Just graduated on June 17th in a ceremony at Sandy Point State Park. Did all the dogs behave during the ceremony?
They did for the most part. I mean, it was the sun was shining. It was got pretty warm that day.
Right.
I think they were slightly antsy, but for the most part, they did pretty well.
Good. Yeah, good job. What was the most memorable case that you can think of with a dog, one of your canines?
Well, certainly we go back to 9/11, and Sergeant Nyland and her dog Chessie worked 6 straight days at the Pentagon looking for human remains. And every night they would collapse into a motel room bed, the two of them together, and get up the next day to do it again. But we've had one of our dogs in Western Maryland, Blue. Blue tracked a 62-year-old woman who went hiking with her 2 dogs and got completely turned around, lost on a mountain. And Blue tracked that woman and her 2 dogs and found them. It was late at night. She was cold. She was wet. She was happy to see us.
That's awesome.
And, we've had cases where, again, Lisa Nyland had her 2 dogs at a cold case murder scene, and they found the one dog found a little spot of blood on the wall. And from that, they were able to find where the body was. And from that, they were able to get a suspect. And he's in prison down south somewhere.
Incredible. These dogs are so very important, as are their handlers. Jake, you have more than one dog. And by the way, the dogs live with their handlers, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have more than one dog at home?
I have 2 more dogs at home.
Tell me. Okay, you have a Labrador?
I have 2 yellow lab females.
Okay. And now a Chessie male. How did they take to him?
Well, so the one lab was mine. She's 3 for a year. It was just the 2 of us living in my house together. So, and she's like a little princess. She's only like 50 pounds. I've never even heard her bark. She loves Ruckus. And she's half his size probably. And they play and wrestle and go at it nonstop. The other lab was my wife's dog. She's about 9, and Ruckus is growing on her. She's a little bit standoffish to him, and when the other 2 play, she kind of just like walks away from it, and she doesn't,
Not used to this idea yet.
She doesn't really like it.
Very good. So Ruckus, we've heard what the dogs are used for in general. Ruckus is going to be used in Annapolis. Are you guys out on boats every day? Or in the Annapolis area, I should say, right?
In the Annapolis area, for the most part, the district I'm assigned to actually has Sandy Point State Park in it, which takes quite a bit of time from us. So just because it's a little bit harder to be on boats for Ruckus and I because of the heat and the confinement, for the most part, we just try to stick around to patrol in Sandy Point.
Right.
We can go on boats. Right now, I'm waiting on a life jacket to come in for him before I do it too much. Just that way, in case he goes overboard, I don't want to see anything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A life jacket. You said you're also going to be tracking suspects. I think I've asked you this before, but do they wear a bulletproof vest or armored vest?
We actually don't have those for our dogs. For the most part, we're not going to look for anybody who is like a high risk. Just because of the vulnerabilities to that.
Right.
Our dogs aren't aggressive trained just because we also participate in, the search and rescue missions. We want them to lick the people when they get there and be happy to find them. No, we don't have vests for them at this time. It might be something we look into just to be safe in the future.
And the life jackets, are these expensive? Because they're made for dogs that are always...
Yeah. We're actually trying to find, for the most part, we've only found like one manufacturer, and they have like bright red ones and bright yellow ones. So we're trying to reach out, maybe find another manufacturer, talk to that manufacturer and see if they make them in our traditional NRP green.
The olive green.
Yes, ma'am.
Candy, what haven't I asked about these dogs in this unit that should be covered that you want people to know about?
Well, just that they are as much a part of our operation as the officers themselves. We use them all the time. They're on standby. That's why we have one in, essentially every geographic area of the state so that we can put a dog someplace in a hurry. Ryder, who is in actually based in Montgomery County. Riders learning to ride the boats on the Potomac, because we stop a lot of boats on the Potomac to make sure people have life jackets and such. Ryder is there. On hunting season, we're always out looking for a lost hunter or two. And, it's just an integral part of what we do.
Very good. And thank you for doing it.
You bet.
This is the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. I'll see you next week.